got today? This dead pine. There's not enough room to fall it. Their property line goes right there, so I can't fall it that way unless I want to. I'd have to do clean up and bring it all back. I don't want to do that. I can't fall it back this way. It would get hung up in these. So I'm gonna have to climb it, and then we'll just rig the limbs down. I'll hang each limb, cut them up into pieces, make a big pile right here, and we'll go from there. So upon further inspection, I don't know if you can see this, but it's been hit by lightning, and up there at that Y, it's a pretty big crack. What I was gonna do was take all of these limbs that go over the garage, and I was gonna basically hang them, rig them to where when they cut, they just hang, and then I go down and nip up the tips and work up and to stuff I can handle and then throw it over there. But that's sort of that crack or that tear out, all the stuff this side, I don't want to hang, I don't want to put that weight or that stress on this side of that crack and risk it tearing out and then falling on the garage. Rig and rope will be in this. I can set the GRCS over there in the woods and fall this whole thing right into here. And I'm gonna have to just make certain that it won't hit those power lines. But from here, I don't think it will. I can also high stump it as high as I can. But for now, that's the plan. All right, so I got my climbing rope around where I want the rigging rope to be. So when I'm down, I'll tie the rigging rope onto this and just pull it back up. Let me take you on a little trip. All right, so this is what I'm doing. Here, I'll tell you all what I'm doing. So the dead pine right there in the middle, that's the one that's got to come out. I went up it. I was gonna rig out limbs, but at the very top, one of the leads goes back this way, and it's lightning struck right down the middle. And it would make it really tough for me working alone to rig that stuff out. It's right over the garage. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop this thing right about where this red rope is. I'm gonna set up a GRCS either back here in the woods behind me or maybe to that tree. I'll show you a little trick. So this is how I was measuring out to see if it's gonna hit, because we got power lines right here, right above me. And that's the tree that's gotta come out right here. So to figure out whether it's gonna fit, you got all kinds of methods. You can do the level stick, and you know that's at a 45. So I got the app on my phone for a level, right? So what I can do is kind of do this. Set it at 90. All right, now we're looking perfectly level. And I can already see I'm well below the base of the tree. Go up 45. And then look at your, and then that's where it's gonna see if you're above the tips of the tree. So this is a tricky one, because it's right on the edge. Again, this is where the power line's right here, and this is where I want to fall it, right through here. Also, as it brushes through here, chances are it's going to break a lot of the tips out where they won't even be there. But as I measure this out right here, I've got, there's level. Let me do this. Level. I'm just above the tips of that tree. And I'm also going to be high stumping. I'm going to be cutting it a couple feet above where the eave of the garage is. So that's going to be about 10 feet that we're taking off of it. That would put it right down there at the edge of the road. All right. We got that set. Now we're gonna figure out how we want to cut. Get set up for that. exactly what we wanted. Right between the two. This tree that we scarred up here, that's getting removed at some point. So I wasn't too worried about it. Actually, I was thinking about just taking it out for them, but I'm not gonna do that. This is why I don't like doing humongous tops on these dead trees, because you're gonna put a lot of pressure on the stem as that top's going. And man, they got some butterfinger in these. I already pulled a couple limbs off the road, but it came to right here. Power lines. That's exactly what we were going for. Right down the middle. Hi, puppy. Hey, come here. Say hi. Good job.